Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne?
Hi everyone, my name is Jose de Jesus Alvarado and I want to talk about Robert Burns, a famous poet. Robert Burns is best known as a pioneer of the Romantic movement, still celebrated as a Scottish national hero, for his lyrics, poetry, and his rewriting of Scottish folk songs, many of which are still well known across the world, like the ones we listened at the beginning. What about his history? Robert Burns, born on January 25 in 1759 in Alloway, Scotland. Robert Burns was the eldest son of tenant farmers William Burns and Agnes Brown. After some rudimentary education, reading books by important contemporary writers as well as Shakespeare and Milton, Burns' mother, uneducated but imaginative, taught him the ballads, legends, and songs of the Scottish peasants. These songs inspired him to write poetry of his own. After the death of his father, Burns quickly developed his gift for expressing emotion of love, friendship, and amusement in verse. He also attempted to keep the family farm going, but failed. Soon, however, his fortunes changed for the better. At the age of 27, he published poems, chiefly in the Scottish dialect, a work that enjoyed immediate success with simple farmers and sophisticated critics alike. Burns then temporarily gave up farming and moved to Edinburgh. There, he played the role expected of him, that of a gifted but uncultured rustic. Labor of love. While in Edinburgh, Robert Burns made many close friends, including Agnes, or Nancy, MacLehose, with whom he exchanged passionate letters, but was unable to consummate the relationship. Frustrated, he began to seduce her servant, Jenny Clow, who bore him a son. Turning to business, Burns befriended James Johnson, a fledgling music publisher, who asked him for help. The result was the Scott Musical Museum, a collection of traditional music of Scotland. Tired of the urban life, Burns settled on a farm at Ellisland in the summer of 1788 and finally married Jean Amour. The couple would ultimately have 9 children, only 3 of whom survived infancy. Labor of love in 1788, Burns left Edinburgh and settled on a farm in Ellisland, Dumfriesshire. When his friend James Johnson planned to compile a definite anthology of Scottish folk songs, he asked Burns to help him, and Burns jumped at the change. He threw himself wholeheartedly into the project, and for the next 3 years roamed the countryside collecting, editing, and writing lyrics for many old Scottish tunes, thus preserving the rhythms and accent of his native tongue. Considering this work to be a labor of love, he declined payment, even refusing to allow his name to appear in the collection. In doing so, he created difficulties for scholars who have found it almost impossible to determine where some of the original folk songs live off and Burns' contribution began. Sadly enough, Burns' devotion to his country and the peasant life was the cause of his early death. He had developed a heart disease from overly strenuous work on his father's farm as a boy, and he finally succumbed to it at the age of 37. Connecting to the poems, Burns' poems celebrate the joy of being human, of loving, working, appreciating nature, and laughing with friends. As you read, consider how important it is to have plans for the future. His work reflects his familiarity with Scottish peasants' life as well as his deep connection with nature. Burns' plans for the future. Building backgrounds, Robert Burns' poetry flourished during a time when the English-controlled British government was trying to subdue Scottish patriotism by depriving Scots of civil liberties. The favourable reception of Burns' poems, chiefly in the Scottish dialect, did much to restore a sense of pride in his fellow Scots, and Burns' later preservation of traditional Scottish songs raised him to the status of folk hero. His work reflects Burns is said to have composed to a mouse after turning up a mouse nest while plowing and saving the mouse from the spade of the boy who was holding the horses. So that is a little bit talk about Robert Burns, but I hope that it could help you to understand a little bit about the romanticism of his poetry. Thank you very much.